Can I admit something to you? I struggle with motivation. Part of that is because I struggle with self-confidence. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what I do to gain a bit more self-confidence and to help me build a little bit of motivation. This is the Completely Mental Podcast, and I'm your host, Ben. I'm an average mid-30s male in the heart of Missouri. I'm a father of 3, husband to 1, I guess you could say lucky wife. I'm probably more the lucky one. And I'm probably not all that different from you. What I mean is, I have goals. I have career goals. I have life goals. I also have my ADHD goals. And those are more pipe dreams. The way a neurodivergent brain works, those goals get often placed on an even pedestal with my life and career goals. And all those things that I want to work towards through all facets of my life compete with each other. And I suffer from a huge block of executive dysfunction when it comes to actually putting work into my goals. So Ben, what do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. I tell my wife what I want to do. That's the biggest thing. I have a supporting wife, and I hope that you have a supporting partner of some kind, be it your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, pan friend, dog, cat. I would say bird, but I'll be honest, my wife and I both feel this pretty securely, that bird people are a bit odd. If that strikes you as rude, I'm sorry. Go squawk about it. So I talk to my wife. I tell her what I want to do, and I tell her these are the things that I want to do, and she does a great job of, number one, listening. Number 2, she does a good job of helping me organize things into what's really possible, what's kind of like a stretch goal, and what's really kind of unattainable. She helps keep me grounded. And often with my busy brain, there's a lot of things that need to be put in that last category of never going to happen. But she also lets me live in that category every once in a while, and she'll play along. Mostly as like a thought experiment, like, making enough money to do X, Y, Z. She'll play along. We'll talk through like, oh man, if we had this, we could do that, and then we could do these things. Like one of my ultimate goals, and I think this one's relatively attainable, but it's going to take time and effort, and I'm going to have to be a lot better with money, which is also one of my goals. Thankfully, not in the never going to happen column, but certainly one of my stretch goals because I'm not good with money. But what I want to do, one of my ultimate goals is to have like my own mini farm, just like my own. Like I want to do like one of those homesteading things. Like I want to be able to grow my own food. I want to have my own livestock. I want to have, enough land for pets and livestock and crops, and also have a comfortable home for us to lay down in at night. I also want a bitchin' shower because man, I love a good shower. And I want a few dogs. My wife wants a bunch of cats, which we already have a bunch of cats, but she would want more cats, and we want goats because I would have to mow the lawn a lot less, but I would have to build some pretty big fences to keep the goats in because that's how goats are. You can see we've played with this one a while. So my motivation comes from telling her these things and talking it out, having like a real conversation about, number one, why do you want this goal? What will change if you achieve this goal? What are some unintended consequences of achieving this goal? I mean, these are all good things. And oftentimes after talking through some of these questions and answers, I find that's not really all that interesting to me anymore. Or I find this is absolutely what I want to do. Now, being ADHD and getting hyper focused on things, I have a number of doom piles that are starting to kind of crop up around the house. What that means is soon I'm going to have to go through, create an eBay seller's account and get rid of some of this stuff, or get rid of it on Facebook Marketplace, whatever. Point is, I've got a few piles of things that I need to get rid of. Now, that's all talk about motivation. I mentioned I also go and suffer from a lack of self-confidence. And this is again where my wife steps in pretty often and helps remind me, like, what's the worst that would happen? Like, honestly, what's the worst thing that can happen? And, this is very similar to an exercise that I did with a therapist when I started suffering from panic attacks in the realm of cognitive behavioral therapy, like looking at what I think might happen and then just essentially playing like, what if? Okay, so that happens. What if? What if that happens? What would be the worst case scenario? And realistically, it boils down to hardly anybody's going to see it or experience it. And realistically, even if those people see it or experience whatever I take part in, they're probably not really going to remember it. I mean, seriously, try to think back to the last time you saw somebody really embarrass themselves doing something that they really put some effort into. Chances are you don't really remember it all that well, because everybody's absorbed in their own world. People aren't out here trying to remember you. They're trying to remember them. They're trying to remember the things that they're doing. And so that helps me realistically connect more with my goals and the things that I want to do and try to get out there a little bit more. This channel, for example, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've tried to start it a number of times and I got too embarrassed. I was like, oh man, I hate listening to myself over the headphones or on the speakers. And so what? One of the things that I started with was actually I went on ACX, the Amazon kind of like the Amazon like audiobook thing that where like authors post their books looking for voiceover people to read them out loud, to create audiobooks. And I started reading books. Now, at the time I started, had a really bad track record of actually finishing those projects. And so I would start them. I would start editing. I would listen. I was actually starting to enjoy listening to myself. I was getting more comfortable with it. And I don't know. I froze. I never felt like I had the time or the focus to really give it my all there. But through repetition and enough practice, I got comfortable being on the microphone and actually talking and listening and what have you. So here I am now. I feel a lot better about actually talking here. I feel like I've started to kind of sort of get better at like the audio editing. Hopefully, you don't hear so many like plosives, which are like the sound like the P's and the T's and the S's and the B's, etc. Kind of blowing up the microphone. But also hopefully, like I've started to learn how to create like a richer tone and how not to breathe heavily into the microphone, which I'm still going to do because I'm a big guy and I'm out of shape and I'm talking more than I like to. But regardless, I found that support structure, and that's what I can like wholeheartedly recommend. I'm not going to tell you to do things that I don't do. And this is one of the things I Absolutely do. I go to my wife. I've got a couple of close friends I also do the same thing with, but my wife is my rock. She supports me through everything. And she's been my biggest cheerleader for a lot of this stuff. So my advice, get somebody like that in your corner. It also helps if that person doesn't have a problem with also giving you criticism, because you have to take the good with the bad. And ideally, they're going to give it to you in a way that is meaningful to you, but you have to also be willing to accept that criticism and think it through and really digest it and see what you can do about it. So be coachable. Be willing to change. Be willing to put the effort in. And eventually, things will start going your way. You know, it may not look like it from where you're sitting listening to this podcast, but I've come a long way. Professionally speaking, I went from being, a low grade anatomy tech. It was a weird job. I can go into details about it, but it's kind of more of a macabre job. A few years ago, being treated like another number, to now working for a worldwide nonprofit, supporting as a supervisor for quality control. And, I touch thousands of lives a week through the products that I oversee. And I really love what I do. And honestly, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have my wife in the corner telling me, go for it. Just give it a try. What's the worst I say? No? Well, then you're right back where you are right now. Like, still working, still doing the same job. But if they say yes, then we get ahead. So just go for it. So that's my 2 cents on, that's my 2 cents on how I keep my motivation, and I've been improving my self-confidence. Finding the right person to be in my corner. I hope you can find one of your own. I hope you take something away from this. Go out there and conquer your dreams. And I wish you the best of luck. If you've enjoyed this, please leave me a like. Also, if there's something that you just want somebody to talk about, leave it in the comment section. I'm always looking for something else to talk about. I'm doing my best here to create content, but I've only got so many ideas. So thank you all for coming. Until next time, good luck out there.